to tell this House and the people of New Zealand, Mr. Chairman.
I call Todd McLeod.
Mr. Chair, thank you. It gives me pleasure to rise and speak on the committee stage of this bill. And look, it has been an interesting debate, as interesting as it was when we were in committee. And we did have many submitters come and speak to us. And certainly the opposition is handpicking little bits that they particularly want to talk about. Mr. Speaker, can I say and thank the Minister for her openness and responsiveness, not only in answering questions here this evening, but in the interaction that we've had as we've gone along last year looking at this bill. And there's a couple of points that I really must touch on. Mr. Speaker, one of them is that during the course of the debate in the committee, the members opposite asked for more time. Well, the Minister was responsive and did give us more time, and that was a good thing. Not at all. The Minister gave us more time so that we could consider it and look at it, and I want to thank her for that. And the reason I want to thank her for that is because she, along with every member on this side of the House, wants to make sure that we're getting this piece of legislation right. Now, do you know why we need to get this piece of legislation right, Mr. Chairman? It's because this very night, when Labour members opposite are speaking about all these things that will work or won't work, or what they used to do or what they would be doing if they were in government, we have young people in New Zealand that started committing crimes when they were very young, and they will be out there in the streets tonight, now that it's dark, committing them again. You know, the sad reality is, I say to members opposite, is for the last 9 years, studies... Mr. Prasad, surely you cannot stand up in this House and tell me that you're proud of the last government's record in this area. And the reason that I know you can't be proud of that is because these young kids that were committing crimes, when all of the studies were being done, and Family Commission was very busy working out what should be done around families, sitting on couches and so on, they got to the age of 18, those kids, and now they're in our prisons. So we know as a society and as a country we have not done well enough. Now, Mr. Speaker, I want to pick up a couple of things that people have said in the debate tonight. Chester Burrows is a man who I greatly respect. And here's a man that's actually been out involved with young people as a policeman for many years and worked hard to make their lives better. And I say to members opposite, go and buy Chester a cup of coffee. He doesn't take sugar in it. And listen to him. Don't talk to him, listen to him. Because he has some real experience about what happens on the ground. Now, I've got to say, if I listen to the rhetoric that comes across often from the other side of the House, clearly they've got to sit down with somebody like Chester and listen to his experience. And I would say, Mr. Chairman, that I would listen and trust Chester Burrows' views on these issues because of his experience long before I will the hollow rhetoric from the other side of the House. And I want to touch on Hekia Parata, who spoke with great passion. Of course, members opposite were critical of her for that. Some said she was speaking too loudly. Well, I'll back a member of this Parliament who wants to stand up and talk about those lost youths and that lost opportunity, the ones that are languishing in our jails any day of the week. Now, Mr. Speaker, two issues in part one of the bill. One is the military-style camps. Look, members opposite really need a reality check when it comes to what they think these things will be about. Of course they're about mentoring. Of course they're about drug and alcohol rehabilitation. Of course they're about the wraparound services. But do you know what, Mr. Speaker? Mrs. King is not correct. A sharp, short shock will help some people some of the time. And these are the ones that we don't have to worry about because the policemen coming to their door with their parents and talking to them means that could well be enough. But do you know what happens to most of these young people that may end up in the military-style camps? That they will have had lots of chances, as the Minister said, 11 times through family court jurisdictions. These are the kids for which we have, as society, one last chance before they go on to an adult prison. And, Mr. Speaker, a time with adults who will teach them to respect themselves and ask them to offer respect in return, to work through some of these issues, particularly drug and alcohol, and then to support them in the communities when they go back into the communities is one of the last chances we will have so that their lives are not ruined and they go and end up in prison. And I think this is an initiative that we've had support from the community on. Those who have been involved in some of these programs, support them fully, and I think this will actually do great things. Now, we've heard from members opposite about 12 and 13-year-olds. Well, it's very interesting. We did have a lot of submissions on that. And again, my recollection of some of the things that the Youth Court judges said when they came to us are quite different from members opposite. But I do accept that in some cases, the Youth Court Chief Judge said that he had concerns. Well, one of the changes changes the committee made was that if when a 12 and 13-year-old for those crimes appear before a youth court judge, that youth court judge can use some of the tools that are in the family court or refer back to the family court if they choose to. Mr. Speaker,
I call the end.